Hello, my name is Nils Haarmann and I'm a dramaturg at Schaubühne in Berlin. And I'm very happy about this invitation to talk, to speak, to exchange some of our theater practices. So thanks to the TR Warsaw. Um, and I'm replying to Zhigos Yajina. Um, so yes, we're now in week 9, I think, of the lockdown in Germany, which is a really long time. And it began with a shock for us because immediately 2 days before the lockdown started, we were supposed to open our big international festival, the Find, which once every year takes place at Schaubühne, Festival for International New Drama, with a lot of international companies coming, Berlin audience, international guests visiting, and 10 days of an intense program with invited touring productions, which had been planned a year ahead, for which we have external funding from the Berlin Senate, and we were all very happy and had been working very hard for this festival. When then actually 1 day before the official decision came to close all the theaters in Berlin, we as a theater took the decision that it was not reasonable and safe to have this festival with a lot of guests, which performances in all of our 4 venues and with a lot of activity and human contact. So before the official decision came to shut down the theaters, Schaubühne had already taken a very difficult and painful, but I think decision that proved right in the end, to cancel the 10 days of the festival. So this was actually the first shock. I would say it was very sad and very frustrating for everybody to take this decision, and for a lot of the invited companies it also first of all meant a lot of financial worries. Luckily, with our funding which we get from the Berlin Senate, we could pay a big part of the fee that we had agreed upon, but nevertheless it's a very frustrating and for the invited companies difficult situation that this cancellation put them in. Of course, all the other activities we had, rehearsals of 2 new productions, had to stop, premieres and other shows in our repertoire system. Schaubühne is a repertoire and an ensemble theater, got all cancelled quite soon after, and even now the building is protected. We can enter, but not only a limited number of people can be there at the same time. So even now it is a very limited activity. I know that other theaters in Germany started rehearsing again, and they do this respecting social distancing, working with very strict restrictions. We haven't done this. We still don't. We are not open to the public. Our repertoire shows are all cancelled until the summer. And we want and hope to start rehearsing again in the fall. And then also at some point to perform and to bring in new premieres. For the artistic community, I think it's very similar to what Grzegorz said. It was a big shock. Also, very personally, I could say I experienced this with the feeling of a shock, and also, first of all, kind of a depression, and being stopped or blocked in a profession, in an activity, and also in an institution which normally is extremely productive, I would say, and extremely quick in producing and making theater. So I would say this was lived for all of us like a big interruption. Now, as an institution, there is the good part, or the the good side to it that in the German working laws, we have sort of an insurance into which every employed person pays, which is an insurance for companies in case of a pandemic, which we are experiencing now, but also in other cases, in cases the business is not running well, people can be put under, we call it short labor. I think the term in English is furlough, which means that actually this insurance pays 60%, or if you have a family, 67% of your normal wage. But the institution, in the case of Schaubühne, the institution pays the rest up to 90 or 95%. So people don't have big financial losses for this time, but they are put on short labor. For example, the workshops or technicians, they don't work at the moment. They just stop their activities. The ensemble actors, they work a little bit. We started immediately also with our online activities. We did one format in which the ensemble actors would read texts or sing songs or do little videos online. Actually, this started, I think, 2 days after the official lockdown. So quite immediately we kept being busy and being present and being in the world, or just in a virtual form. Yes. So we have this furlough system, which in a way protects all the permanently employed artists and also the technicians and administrative employed staff at an institution like Schaubühne. Of course, this is not the same situation for freelance artists, freelance musicians, freelance actors, freelance singers, a lot of video artists, costume designers, stage designers, directors. A lot of the theater community are working freelance in Germany and are not in these permanently employed institutions. For them, the situation is more precarious. The state, the Berlin Senate, gave some subsidies, some funding. Germany being very federal, the region or the region has to decide whether to help or not, and on what level financially to help. So I think in Berlin there was a financial help from 5,000 for independent artists euro. Yes, this was one immediate help, but of course many people lost jobs, lost contracts, and lost projects for the future. So I think the real problem has just started, and we will see we will see the effects in the years to come. For Schaubühne, of course, we had contracts with guests as well, and we tried to, as we did for the festival, to pay, for example, for shows that had been scheduled and had to be cancelled, to still pay people a fair amount. And the other engagement, let's say, we took part in quite early was to fight for basic income for artists for the time that these lockdown measurements are still active and actually make it impossible for freelance artists to find work. So this is a very important fight, and it could be a positive outcome, although it doesn't look as if there will be a basic minimum wage for everybody for the time that this pandemic still hits the theatre world and all the institutions which rely on people gathering. So I'm not very optimistic there, but if there was something like that as a result, an unconditional basic income, that would be very good. I talked about the online activities that we started to do early on. We did readings of texts by actors. That was one part. Every day we posted a new clip on our social media accounts and on the website, and we immediately started also showing old productions. Now Schaubühne is in a very good situation because we have a lot of repertoire productions of the past more than 50 years actually, which had been filmed. So all the time there have been very good archive filmings of Schaubühne productions, recent ones but also very old ones, which at the time were filmed for TV. And we have a big archive, so we started to think which productions we could show, and set up a program in which every day in the beginning, now we do 5 to 6 days a week, a new show is being put online for 6 hours, so it's reduced the time, and we showed old and new productions. Which is, I think, very nice because it is sort of a history lesson in theater history. You can discover productions, for example, which are much older than I am, or which I didn't have the chance to see when I was a student, or which had been done years before. And also for a broader audience, this is very interesting because, as Grzegorz also said, many don't live in Berlin. Many know the Schaubühne, but never had the chance to see all the repertoire. Also, recent shows, of course, are interesting to rediscover or discover online. We are in a great situation that we have a lot of surtitles for our shows because we had been touring a lot before. So this is also very good. We had a lot of international response. We had people from the United States complaining about the time slots because they didn't exactly suit their time zone, or people from China asking how they can donate money because the credit card system didn't work with theirs. And we had in the beginning several thousand, until now actually we have several thousand spectators per night, per show. So I think the best result were 40,000 spectators one night. That was extremely successful, but I think even the average is even now, and now there's a lot of activities by other theaters as well, is up to between 2,000 and 4,000 spectators, which is really a lot. So we don't know, it's just a click. We don't know if everybody watches until the end, probably not, but it's quite amazing to see this reaction. And for me, it proves that theater, the actual theater, is really missing to many people. That's what people tell us. That's the response we get. That's what stays for me from the dialogue we had with spectators. So I would totally agree with Grzegorz that the dialogue is very important. The communication around it is very important. I'm not as positive maybe, or as optimistic as Grzegorz about this online streaming as a format per se. It is interesting, but it is also limited, I would say. So it is, for me, interesting, as I said, to have a lesson in theater history, to discover shows that are very old and are marked a certain aesthetics, to see how acting was done so many years ago, how this old ensemble of the Schaubühne acted together, how the directors would work. This is interesting from a historical point of view. And even productions that are still in the repertoire, it is great that people have the opportunity to see them. Often in Schaubühne also it's hard to get tickets, so many people wrote to us, it's great, finally I got a ticket. But of course there the dangers also start. It's quite dangerous to put too many things online and make them available all the time, and actually mix this online format up with the reality of a theater production, which for me still relies on people gathering, on an assembly of people, making an experience together, watching something together, and then talking about it later and exchanging about it and having a discussion about it. This, I think, is very limited. In a way, you can gather in front of a screen as well, that's right. But I think the reception of these old productions, there is a danger of, and I see it myself because I watched a lot of online streamings of other theaters as well, that watching a theater performance, a production, becomes more and more checking surfaces, checking certain aesthetics, checking, okay, I've understood this, I got this. And for me, it's very hard. I mean, there are a few examples maybe of formats that are really made for online, for an online broadcast, to really make the experience of time passing, of being present in front of people who live and living doing theater. This is very hard, I think. Nevertheless, we keep doing this until the summer. So every night there will be a new production, and then maybe later we will even add some other formats. One other format that we started to do is actually working together with writers who we asked to send us little videos, write texts which they themselves perform, or write text for actors. And I think this was a very beautiful format and experience for all of us until now, because first of all, as Grzegorz also said, it made the international dialogue continue, it made the exchange continue we had with other people, and it gave us perspectives, for example, from Chile, from the United States, from Great Britain, from France, from Italy, from other parts of the world. Writers who we are close to, with who we have worked or who have worked with us, would share their perspective. And there are some very beautiful results. Some had written little short plays which actors of ours would perform in front of a camera. Others would give some very subjective statements, but also some were reacting in an essayistic form. So all these texts and videos, they are gathered on our website, and I think in the end it will be a nice archive that will remain. Nevertheless, all these online activities being very successful and being vehicle to continue the dialogue with our audience, or also to get new audiences, I would definitely say that this was a big success. It was right to do it, although in the beginning, of course, sometimes we wondered what an adequate reaction to this absurd catastrophe we're living in can be. And also after a while there is a certain online fatigue, I notice, with audiences, with theater makers, with actors, that after a while also these formats get very used, and you have seen this format. Even me sitting here in front of a camera now is something like a Corona cliche now. We have seen this a lot. So actually we are really desperately waiting for the moment when we can do theater again in front of a live audience. At the moment this is not possible in Berlin. Until the summer it's totally forbidden, but I know from other German regions that it's already possible again. We are of course checking how to make our venues safe, how to respect social distancing in the venue. It will reduce the number of seats, which is very problematic for Schaubühne, because Schaubühne in the first place is not such a big theater. So we have in our biggest venue 470 seats. If you now include social distancing, maybe in the end you end up playing in front of 50 or 60 spectators, which is not the same experience artistically, but also means big, tremendous losses financially. And Schaubühne, being a private theater which is publicly funded, relies on the income from the box office. So 1/3 of our income is box office and touring activities. This concerns the audience, but of course also we will have to check our working routine and see how we can make it safe and according to the to the distancing rules. This is another thing that we are currently exploring and acquiring. I think audiences are desperately waiting to come back as well. I mean, we don't know, of course, this is a bet. We don't know. Maybe also people can be afraid or don't want to go to the theater right away, even though it is possible and legal again. This is just my feeling. I don't know. It's really just a feeling, but I have the feeling that people would want to come back. So yeah, I mean, we will see this in the fall. As I said, we're now checking how to make our practice safer, and probably we will start with a very reduced program. Probably more shows, solo shows with just one actor involved, and playing longer runs in the repertoire, and more often. For the touring, it's very hard to say, because even though that Germany didn't have a mortality rate high as in other countries, even though maybe in Germany seems to have the situation under control, in inverted commas, quite well. This doesn't mean that in countries we were touring abroad a lot, in other countries this will be the same. This is really an open question to us, and as I said, 1/3 of Schaubühne's annual budget is the box office and the touring. So this is actually problematic, and we will see what how to deal with it, how to address it. We also, of course, work with a lot of international directors and teams, and this is another big challenge, how to continue doing this, in which we all believe. We believe in international theater making and believe in the artists we chose to work with. But a big challenge is, for example, how to make a collaboration with a British team when we have to expect that there's quarantine rules, strong restrictions for traveling, and also we don't want to put people in danger. So this is a big challenge to find answers to, and we are discovering this by doing it. I think a very important thing will be the experience we'll make, the experience of the next month, the experience also of other theaters which open already earlier than we do, and yeah, so this is really something that time can tell. I think it is very good to have this format and to exchange on practices and have a dialogue. So yeah, I hope to have given you a little insight into what's happening in Germany and how our reality is. And yeah, I mean, for now, until the summer, we will continue with our online program, and one production will actually start rehearsing also, a Milo Rau monologue, a new monologue which Milo Rau will do with Orsina Lardi, one actress of the ensemble. And so this might be the first premiere under Corona restrictions in the fall. I thank you very much for the invitation to speak. I hope this gave you some insight, and I look forward to share our experience further later. And yeah, let's all hope for the best, and thank you very much.